Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Ask Me Anything, where you can ask me anything about home recording, mobile recording, audio gear, life, the universe, everything. Coffee? Yeah. All right, we got the check here, we got the video, we got the audio, we got the coffee. I think that's the only three things that we actually need to have a decent Q&A session here today as my microphone falls away. Hello to the folks who are here live. If you have just joined via Facebook or YouTube and you have questions, please throw them in the chat. It helps out if you chuck the word question in front. If you do a bit of this, so if you put question followed by your question in the comment, just means it'll stand out. And as I'm scrolling through, and if folks are chatting amongst yourselves, that's cool. You can do that. But if you have questions, you can ask them that way. And as we go through the show, I will answer as many as I can. I've also got a couple of topics that I'll be talking about throughout this, of things that folks have asked me during the week, or just some things that I've been experiencing in the last week or so, because it's been some interesting times here for me here on the channel here in Australia. And I know, before we get started, for many folks in many parts around the world, I just wanted to say, I know you're probably in lockdown version 2, 3, 4, or 7 at this point, and I feel you, I hear you, and if anything, hopefully the positive that come out of that is more music, more creativity, more engagement, albeit of the online variety, just like this one. So yeah, if you're feeling it and you just want to hang out, we'll be here for at least an hour, possibly two, depends how many questions we get. G'day to all the folks that we have here live, and D's here. We've got Mark, of course, Tom, S.M. Borthwick, Rob Marlett is here, Bob Marlett, sorry, Frigsy, Darren, Daniel Yukajev, Brush, Michael, aka Zealand Band, and many more people who are scrolling by as we speak. Joe's here as well, Joe Glenn. Thank you all for being here. And today we are brought to you by me. So we're brought to you by patreon.com/PeteJohns. Yes, thank you. I know many of you have already joined up and are patrons of the channel. For as little as $1 per month, you can support me not only mentally, physically, emotionally, but financially. And for your $1 a month, you get a warm feeling way down in the cockles, but you also get access to some additional live shows and a few other exclusive benefits and little bits and pieces along the way. So do consider becoming a patron. We will get started with the questions, because I always spend too much time chattering and not enough time answering, and we're already 2.5 minutes in, and time is of the essence. So let's get into it. Barry, hello to you. He says, I have problem getting my USB MIDI, 535 to work with the new MacBook Air. Now, this is something I can attest to, because I'm still using my Samson mixpad here, which is why my audio is a little quiet there. Bring that up a little notch. I'm still using my Samson mixpad because my Zoom LiveTrack L8 still does not work on the new M1 Max, which is a pain in the butt, but it's I'm sure they'll get there. Let me just have a look, because I'm honestly not sure what the Yamaha YEP 535 actually is. Looks like a keyboard. I did assume that. So Yamaha YEP. So the thing here is, most things that are class compliant are working fine. Let's come in here to the Amazon listing. So it's a portable grand piano. A very nice looking one. Hang on, that's not what you said. YEP. This is the YPG. Is that the same sort of thing that you got here, Barry? I'll give you a more generic answer. So there's two ways you can connect up MIDI when it comes to using Mac. That's either USB, or it's using a MIDI to USB adapter. Now, if your piano, if your keyboard's got USB built in, which this one, I mean, it looks pretty new, it probably does. Let's just come down here. Yeah, USB, it's definitely got a USB port. So if you've got a MIDI keyboard with a USB port and you plug it in and it doesn't work, it's probably not class compliant, meaning it needs its own driver in order to run and operate. Now, the problem is some devices, like my mixer, don't have a driver that works with either Big Sur or the new M1 Max. And because the new M1 Max run Big Sur by default, then you're a little bit SOL, which, as we know, means sort of out of luck. So there's not really much we can do with that, apart from wait for Yamaha to hopefully get a new driver that is going to work. But if anyone else has any other tips for Barry and has a similar keyboard, then that's what we're here for. Drop it in the chat if you're here live, or jump down to the comments if you are here afterwards. Joe's just here to listen and learn. Absolutely. If you don't have questions, a lot of folks, even I was talking to Jade, and she said after last show, actually I wasn't talking, she just made a comment. She was like, oh, I learned some stuff. It was in her show. I learned some stuff just by listening to answers to other questions I didn't even know I had. And that's what you can do. That's why I like Q&A shows, is sometimes you pick up little tidbits of information. questions you didn't even know you had, but once someone else asks them, you're like, oh yeah, I wanted to know that too. Base Car Tech, we'll have a sip of coffee and answer your question. Question: the other live streams are not on the Pete Johns channel. Other live streams are not on the Pete Johns channel. Now, last week you got I did something wrong with my live streams. I'll take a look and check out that. This one definitely is. I haven't set up my weekend streams yet. So that usually happens on Thursday. I'm a day behind today because I went to my first live gig in over a year yesterday. So I haven't set up my live shows for the weekend. But if you are on the mailing list, if you jump on over, I don't have it. If you go here, go to studiolivetoday.com and jump on the email list. You can actually go to studiolivetoday.com/email and it will take you straight to that. If you get on that email list, then usually either Friday night or Friday morning, depending where you are in the world, you will get the newsletter, and that has the links to Your Music Live, to all the other home studio Q&A, the Happy Hour, GarageBand Weekly, all of our weekend live shows. This one is just one I do every week or two as a bit of an add-on and a bit of a additional Q&A when I've got more questions to answer. We'll scroll on down because I did see more questions here. Joltha, how long do you decide the song to be? What a good question, yeah. Some of these more sort of philosophical questions are fun, and I'll ask folks that are here live to answer that as well. How do you know how long a song should be? I'll take a sip. And I'll answer that. I'll answer that question by being super self-promoting here and telling you the story of a song that I wrote. So one of the favourite songs of mine to play is a tune called Never to Blame. And you may have seen it or heard it. Here's a little sneak peek of it if you haven't before. It's this one here. And what you'll notice about this song is that it's only 2 minutes long. As you can see there, it's a 2-minute song. And when I first wrote this song, I wrote the first verse and I wrote the chorus and then I wrote the second verse and then I wrote the final chorus. And it ended up being 2 minutes. And I thought to myself, 2 minutes is not long enough for a song. I can't have a 2-minute song. And then I tried to jam in an additional verse, a bridge, a pre-chorus, a code. I don't know. I was trying everything and it just wouldn't go. And at the end of the day, I thought, you know what? This is a 2-minute song. This song works as a 2-minute song. Now, other songs I've written don't work as a short song. They need to be longer. So the last song I wrote called New Beginning, that has a big breakdown section in the middle. That's like a 4.5-minute song, and it needs to be. It doesn't feel complete without that. And some people even said to me, look, Never to Blame never quite feels complete to me. Feels like I want to hear more. And I'm like, that's actually kind of the point. Because when I wrote this song, it's a song about people who are never to blame, characters that look a little bit like this dude here. So yeah, you can watch the video if you like. But yeah, it's about these characters. And when people have asked me, my stock answer these days is, these people don't deserve any more than 2 minutes. So when I wrote a song about them, it was 2 minutes and I called it. So yeah, how do you know how long a song should be? The song will kind of tell you. And if you listen back to it and you feel that there just needs to be more, then you can add in more. If it feels right, then just go with it. And you know what? As we say on the channel here, unlimited retries. So if you like it, if you do it and you finish that song and it's too short, well, you can either live with it being too short, you can go back and try it again, or you can move on to the next song. And you might have learned something from that song that you can apply to your next song. So good question though. And what do you think? How do you know how long a song should be? Let me know here in the chat. All right, we're going to move on because the questions are coming in thick and fast. Jeff Brush, hello to you. I've been meaning to ask this for a long time. Are you familiar with the HSCC? Oh, the Harney Street, what is it? Harney Street Country Club? Is that what they are? Band from Adelaide. And do you like them? I haven't really, I think someone mentioned them to me a while ago and I checked them out. Yeah, here they are. The Hindley Street Country Club. If you don't know Hindley Street, here in Adelaide, it's a famous, infamous street. It's a bit of a rough street. You know how most cities have that street that's the street that's a bit rough? If something goes on at a nightclub in Adelaide, there was something that went on this weekend. It's like, yeah, Harley Street. But the Harley Street Country Club, I haven't dug into them a lot, but I need to. So here you go. I should join this list and get the updates and should check them out because, yeah, local music is cool. As I'll talk about in a little while, I went and saw some local music last night, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a little while. Should I lay all tracks first, mix down, then record vocals? Really good question. I don't know. Should you lay all the tracks down first and then record vocals? I tend to, but I don't. So it really depends on the track. So if I'm doing a singer-songwriter acoustic type track, what I'll generally do is lay down a guide acoustic guitar and a guide vocal. And they're usually my first two tracks, 1 and 2. I'll then go and re-record all of the instruments. So I'll then go and record all the instrumentation, the guitars, the drums, the keys, everything, and then record my actual finished vocals last. So I guess my answer to this for me is both, in that I always have a guide vocal at the start just to feel, because I tend to find you can't really place the instrumentation properly if you don't know where the vocals are going to go. Otherwise, you tend to over instrumentalize. Does that make sense? You tend to put too many things. You don't leave enough space for the vocal to sit in there. So that's what I would say is get a basic, whether it's keys or guitar or a beat, get something basic down, get a vocal take down, and then build out your instrumentation with that scratch vocal sitting there. Then you can re-record. And you know what? Sometimes your scratch vocal sounds so good, you just end up using it. I've definitely fallen into that a few times before. But great question. And again, if others have their opinions and feedback on that question, do let us know here in the chat. What is the best app for editing videos? Depends on the platform you're using. I use LumaFusion on my iPad and my iPhone, and that is what I use. If you've ever watched a video, apart from these live videos, if you've ever watched a video here on Studio Live today, in the last 3 years, it has been edited on LumaFusion. And I used to actually use, Adobe Premiere Pro, and I was paying the Adobe subscription, and then I realized that I'm paying $30 a month, and I use 2% of the Adobe product. I don't use Photoshop. I don't use much at all. And I switched over to LumaFusion on my then iPad. And then I'm like, hey, this is cool. I could actually do this on my iPhone. And I did. So this is LumaFusion here. And there's me, recording, goodness knows what. I can't remember what that was. Oh, that was a demo that I did where I showed how to split out audio. But that's LumaFusion. And, you got 6 tracks of audio, 6 tracks of video. You got all the effects. You got all the editing and cutting tools. You got your audio there. You can bring in all your things. And because I shoot a lot on my phone, having everything in iOS. So here, for example, last night, I know I keep mentioning it, I will talk about it once we get through some questions, but last night I was at a gig, and here we go. I've got all of my things here. I've got all the video and all the photos that I took that I want to edit in together to a video that I can put here on the channel, and they're all here in iOS. So I just throw these straight into LumaFusion and start editing. There's no copying from SD cards. There's no messing about with Wi-Fi. It's on my phone. I stick it in LumaFusion and I edit it. So if you're in iOS, I would highly recommend LumaFusion. If you're on a Mac, iMovie is great and free. And if you're on a PC, probably I would go with, I always forget the name of it, DaVinci Resolve. It's a free platform and tends to work pretty well. Let's keep going because I can see myself getting behind on questions again, which is a good thing because it means there's lots of folks here asking questions. Can you make lo-fi using Cubase 3? Yes, you can. Cubase 3, probably, to be honest, GarageBand probably has more lo-fi loops and instruments and sounds with Alchemy and with everything it has going on than Cubase does. So don't discount GarageBand for making some cool lo-fi tunes. But yeah, definitely Cubase 3 is good for creating a lot of things. Nick, hello to you. Monitor issue. When I record, sometimes I can't get the monitor tracks loud enough to meet the level I have to record with. I'm using the Steinberg UR22. Now, I have heard this before. I don't have this problem, but I have heard folks having this problem. And it is sort of documented that the headphone amp, especially on the Steinberg UR series, if there's one thing that people are critical of, it's the headphone amp on the Steinberg UR series, and that it doesn't give enough loudness. Now, there's a couple of ways around this. You can get a separate external headphone amp. Like that's sort of the one way. That's the ultimate solve. And what a headphone amp does is you take the output, the line output from your audio interface, and then you put that into a headphone amp, and then you've got additional amplifiers there. And the beauty of that is you can have 2 or 4 channels, and you can have a bunch of headphone outs doing it that way. So that is if you're recording very loud music, you can do that. You can, of course, turn the music down. So if the music's lower, then you can record over the top of that. But if you're finding that again and again, you just can't turn up your monitoring volume, you can't hear yourself loud enough, then that could be a problem. The other thing to consider is if, now is it your Can't get enough to meet the level. Can't get the monitor tracks loud enough to meet the level I have to record. So you can use compression. So you can add compression to either your vocal if you can't hear your vocal, or to the other tracks. You can use a gain plugin to temporarily gain up the instrumentation to make it louder. So there's a few other tips that you have there. But yeah, ultimately I have heard that if you're recording very loud tracks and you're singing along or you're playing along, that the headphone preamp, and I probably should talk about it more, but problem is, I talk from my experience and the sort of music I produce, I've never had a problem getting enough loudness or enough sound out of the Steinberg. But yeah, if others have, and if others have tips for Nick on that, outside of what I've said there, then throw them out here. Yes, Stu's here and says a great interview from Jade. Yeah, so Jade interviewed Jude. Yes, there was only one letter between them. So Jade interviewed Jude today on her channel, and it was a great interview. So if you haven't checked out Jade's channel, she does an interview on Friday or Thursday night every week, depending where you are in the world, and it was excellent, very inspirational, and very, very cool. So get on over and check it out. John, hello to you. Just finished my first demo in GarageBand. Awesome. And I kept referring to your channel when I got stuck. You have a very deep catalog. Yeah, I often joke, John, that I'm trying to basically get to the point where there's a robotic version of me that lives in YouTube. And every time you type in the word GarageBand and something, you get this mug pop up telling you what to do. So that's kind of the goal of world domination. But no, in seriousness, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. When I was first starting out, I would search out these terms, and sometimes maybe someone had a video on it, maybe they didn't. So when I was learning and I wanted to learn how to quantize MIDI, I'd go GarageBand MIDI quantize, and first I'd get a bunch of GarageBand Mac tutorials, like Patrick Baird would be like, hey, it's Patrick from the GarageBand, and I'd be like, oh, cool, it's Patrick, but he's talking about Mac. I need iOS. And eventually I might find something deep in the weeds. And I thought at the time, I want to be able to just have everything there. So believe it or not, I also, as weird as this sounds, search my own tutorials when I need to remember how to do something. Because that's the cool thing about this, what we do here, is that I learn as much from you as you learn from me. I learn new things every week, to the point where sometimes I need to just take a couple of days off, which is what I just did. I had a couple of days relaxing. You would have seen that yesterday's video was just an acoustic cover of a Green Day song I recorded like 2 months ago. So sometimes I just take that step away so I can come back super fresh and have a big weekend of live shows like we're doing here. Back to the issue with the Yamaha, it should just connect with USB. Yeah, so it should just be a USB connection, and if it's class compliant, it should work. The other thing is that some devices have 2 modes. So the Steinberg UR44 interface, for instance, has a CC mode and a driver mode. If you've got a device that's not working or doesn't have the correct driver, and it has either a compatibility mode or a class compliance mode, switch it to that. Then plug it in, and you should be good to go. You might lose a couple of features, but you'll be good to go. Yo, everyone, how do I get all of GarageBand loops to show up in track mode? All of GarageBand loops to show up in track mode. They should all be there, but let me just re-mirror. I realized I didn't have my iPad set up to mirror here properly, so I'm going to do that now. I'm going to set it up because I have to do it in order. I have to AirPlay it, and then it says, yep, your audio's through AirPlay. Then I have to plug it in, and if we jump over here, I have to wait and hope and cross my fingers and toes that this pops up. It goes click, and it does that, so that we can actually then come in and go turn on monitoring, and now we're good. So if we come across and we go into the audio recorder, so let me just put that web browser down so we don't have that distracting us in the background. So if we're talking in terms of loops, so if we go to the track view, this is what we're looking at here. So we're in GarageBand in track view mode. All of your loops should be right here in your Apple loops. So if we tap loops there, now if you have, so here's the problem. You may have a filter on there like I do right now. So you need to make sure you turn off all filters. So go into like your instruments, make sure you're not filtering by instrument or genre. You can hit the X there to get rid of them. And this should be every single loop that is available in every single pack. You can see I'm only down to the Bs, and I've been scrolling pages and pages. So if we want to grab a Curtis Center City drummer beat, we can come and throw it down here. And then we should be able to play that, and yeah. And we're good to go. So now, if you, in terms of have you downloaded them all, well, what you can do is check the sound browser. So come out to here, go to your sound library over here, tap on that one, And you should see it look like this with no little red dots next to any of these. That means I've downloaded all these packs. If you see that you got a red dot and say you haven't downloaded the Prismatica pack, which why wouldn't you? It's an awesome pack. Then you can tap on that, and instead of having this downloaded, you'll have a get button. You hit that, it downloads, and you've got all those. And you can even go in here and manage your packs, and you can check all the installed packs that you've got. You can remove them if you don't want them anymore. But yeah, you know, it's 1.7 gig, which I know if you've got a smaller iPhone, you've got 32 gigabytes of storage, maybe you do have to offload some of these sometimes. But if you've got enough storage, leave it there and you'll be good to go. So hopefully that helps you with that. If that didn't answer the question, feel free to re-ask it if I've missed the point on that one. Let's scroll on down because I'm still getting behind. Jim Sanborn, hello to you. Hope you're doing well. Question from Friggsy. Maybe a stupid question. There are no stupid questions. The only stupid question is, why wouldn't you buy a Studio Live Today mug to enjoy delicious coffee? Because that is a silly question. Question, hey Pete, maybe a stupid question, but is there a kind of all-rounder VST-I package at affordable pricing covering multiple instrument types, drums, strings, bass, all in one package? So yes. What I would probably point you towards there, if you're looking for symphonic type music, there's iSymphonic. That's more of an iOS thing. For VST, and I'll have to check if there's a VST version of it, but I used to use and quite like a plugin called Sample Tank. Let's jump over, because IK Multimedia have been super impressing me lately. We'll come over here. There's our Harney Street Country Club. Let's come in here. What were we searching for? I've lost it. IK Multimedia. And it is Sample Tank. And I'm pretty sure that there is, here we go, Sample Tank 4 from IK. I'm pretty sure that there's a VST, an AU, and an AUV3 version of it. And here it is, Sample Tank. You've got the SC version and the Max version and everything in between. And I think this is kind of what you're looking for. It is like exactly what you say. It's a VST instrument, but it has everything. Now, this is the iOS version, is it? No, that's the, I can't tell now. Everything looks the same. You can't tell. Do we have a thing that's got versions here? Not sure. But I'm almost positive that it does come in VST or in AU or the iOS version as well. But yeah, new library offers 200 gigabytes of new content. So you got the custom shop, the CS version, the SC version. Not cheap, but yeah, you get a whole bunch of stuff in there. So I would go and check all that out and see if Sample Tank might be something for you. I need to check it out again. I might actually reach out to IK and see if I can at least check out the iOS version because I haven't used it in a while. But when I was first starting out, I remember it had the best range. Like if you want, again, like you say, an all-rounder, it kind of had the best range of all the different instruments. Once again, if someone has another one, because I also used to use, what was the drum called? It was called, not Superior Drummer, it was the other one. And Addictive Drums and Addictive Keys, I use those because I did a lot of just keyboard and drum singer-songwriter stuff. So when I was using a PC, I used Addictive Drums and Addictive Keys, and they were really, really high-quality instruments. I really enjoyed those. Question here from Sean Rose. Do you believe that GarageBand will add more guitar choices? They have loads of keyboard choices. Sean, yeah, you're going to hit a nerve on this one because I hope and pray and wish. Now, if you're new to this or if you haven't used GarageBand, one of the big challenges is that GarageBand guitars haven't really had an update. We got this retro wah just so they could show off the wah a while ago, but the acoustic, the classic clean, the hard rock, and the roots rock have been there since GarageBand 1 on iOS, and I don't think they've tweaked them at all. They don't seem to have a very different sound. Like every time, and look, it's not that it's a terrible sound, but you know, every time you hear this, right? You're like, cool. I absolutely know that that is the GarageBand autoplay. So, and again, it's not a terrible sound. It's just not a really inspirational sound. The same with your clean sound here. You've got to. Like, I've heard that on a lot of songs, yeah. And there's cool ways that you can actually tweak it. So what I do, and I've showed this in previous videos, is if you record on a guitar track, what you can actually do is merge that down to an audio track and then move it over to a guitar amp. And then you can basically tweak all of the amp settings just like you would if you played a quote-unquote real guitar. In terms of your question, do I think that they'll add more? I don't know. I don't think... it's one of those things that I'm not sure that there's enough of a demand for it, because it's an interesting in between niche. Yeah, so there's electronic producers and people using keys, and the reason GarageBand keeps adding keys is so many people want to make trap beats, they want to make lo-fi tunes, they want to make R&B, they want to make beats to rap over, and that needs basses, synths, string sort of sounds. It doesn't really need a virtual guitar. And then you've got people who play guitar and they don't really need a virtual guitar. So I know there is a subset of folks, and you're probably thinking, I want a virtual guitar, but there's not a lot. And I think Apple have shown really clearly by some of their decisions lately that they really are listening to the majority. And you can agree with that or disagree with it, but they're very focused on what's going to get them the most bang for their buck or their time when it comes to producing things. So do I believe we'll have more guitar choices? I honestly don't. I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope that they do, but I don't believe that they will. But if someone else wants to, chime in on that, then please let me know. Yes, I know, Deep Gravity, there are so many streams. Yeah, we had a great interview from Jade Starr, and actually, I'll just touch really quickly on that. If you haven't checked out, I've been sharing it on a bunch of different platforms as well, but if you haven't checked out our man Joey Helpish and his series. Now, this is, again, I really have been enjoying this, but at the same time been feeling semi-uncomfortable about it. He has been remixing my album, Selfish Aware. So the album that I did in 2018, Joey said, Pete, I'd love to do some sort of collaboration with you and to do something together. And I said, I would love to too, Joey. I'm just so short on time. What can I do for you? He said, you got any songs you can just send me and I'll remix them? I'm like, yep, I do. I sent him over the GarageBand project of every single song on my album. So he's now up to part 8, which is scheduled for tomorrow. So we've got that one. Part 7 happened today. So it might even still be happening, is it? Or he might have finished by now. I caught most of it, but yeah, I had to jump out of Jade's stream and then into this stream. So yeah, do definitely jump over. Joey Helpish. In fact, what I'll do is I will copy the link to this one. We'll jump in here. You can come in here, set yourself a reminder. There he is. He's done that to my face. I'm going to like it. I'm going to share it. And I'll throw this here in the chat right now. And that way, if you want to check that one out tomorrow, jump in live. I'll definitely try to be there. I think it's after Your Music Live. So jump over there and check out Joey Helpish. He definitely does. He does what I do here. He loves to help people create their best music and does a fine job of it. And he lives in Portland or near Portland, and that makes him extra cool. Stuart talks stuff. Hi, Pete. Have you had an experience with Forecaster Pro for live streaming? I was wondering if it was any good compared to USB Mixer. Forecaster Pro. I can't, unless it's Rodecaster. I'll see if there's something called the Forecaster Pro. This is where Pete shows his ignorance. Side note, did anyone else used to pretend that they knew stuff just to try and fit in? I sure did. I don't do it anymore. If I don't know something, someone's like, oh man, did you hear that new tune? Like when Jeff asked me, have you heard of the Hindley Street Country Club? I could have still gone, oh yeah, man, like they're really cool. But no, I'm like, what is the point of that? I'm just going to get called out and I don't really care if I'm cool. So yeah, these days I'll just be like, no, I haven't really, but I should check them out because they sound cool. All right, I'm searching for Forecaster Pro. It's not giving me anything. Forecaster Pro Mixer, if I type that. No, maybe it's the Rodecaster. So the Rodecaster Pro is a similar device to a mixer. Let's show you what it looks like. It is this one here, the Rodecaster Pro. Where should we jump into? I'll go to Rode. I'll go to the official Rode website. So the Rodecaster Pro, there it is. Very simple USB mixer / interface / podcasting device. You've got the pads there for playing sounds. You've got your mixers there, your faders there. You've got your display there to see your channels and your levels. It is like a small sort of cut down version of what I use, which is the Zoom LiveTrack L8. And from all reports, it is excellent. So great for live streaming, great for anything you're doing live, great for podcasting, great for doing interviews. I'm actually seriously considering testing it out. So I've been using my Zoom LiveTrack L8 for a long time. It's no longer supported by the Mac. I'm going to actually explore and see if the Rodecaster Pro is working with Mac M1 right now. I'm very tempted to sell my Zoom and pick up the Rodecaster. I can't afford to just keep all the gear, so I can't just buy gear. People say to me, they'll put a comment on a thing about some gear, and they'll be like, next time, can you please review the M Audio Fast Track 96 versus the Moto M2? I'm like, I could. Don't really have $400 lying around to go buy those two devices to compare them. But this is one that I am actually seriously. And D Niman, shout out to my man D, who's over there in Mexico at the moment. Long story for him, but he's a live streamer and excellent content creator, and he uses and recommends the Rodecaster Pro. So from some pretty good sources, I've had some pretty high praise for the Rodecaster. And it's made by Rode, who are an Australian company, and very cool people. So how can you go wrong? But yeah, the advantages over a standard USB mixer is really that you have those pads for playing sounds. I think it also has an internal recorder like the Zoom does, so you can record on the go, so to speak. And yeah, it's got some nice quality preamps and a few other features that you don't get in a standard, well, you do get in a standard mixer. Yeah, there you go. Was the Rodecaster. Cool. So yeah, I think it would be a worthwhile investment myself. I'll take a question from Bob in just a moment. Excuse me. I've had too much coffee and not enough water. Let's switch that ratio up, shall we? Let's hydrate with some cool, clear water. All right. Bob says, how do you manage keeping track of your projects? My problem is recording on one computer, then editing on another. I'm hopefully disorganized, even with iCloud and USB drives. Yeah, I hear you, Bob, and I don't get it right. I've got probably 2 months worth of organizing to do, because if we come in here, let's just let's just jump over, and I'll show you my organizational skills at the moment. So here's my recent folder. I got a bunch of stuff all over the place, but when I am organized, what I try to do with my music projects, I try to store everything in this GarageBand for iOS folder under my iCloud drive. And if we go into here, what you'll see is I have these subfolders. And it's a nice idea. It doesn't always work because, look, I've got a bunch of stuff just sitting out here. I've got to go in and reorganize and do probably an hour's worth of tidying. But the reason I use iCloud Drive is that syncs across my iPad and my iPhone, and now my Mac as well. So that's the benefit of having a Mac over a PC. I had a PC for a long time. And yes, iCloud Drive does sync with a PC, and it kind of works most of the time. But with the Mac, it's just seamless. So I have all these, but here's what I do. I've got an ideas folder, I've got an in progress folder, and a complete folder. Now, I've also got background music, miscellaneous tutorials, incomplete collaborations, and a bunch of Studio Live Today stuff. So I've got a bunch of other folders there. But for your standard creator, I think that's what I would recommend is because what the problem is, you get lost in it, right? You got all these project files and all these songs. You don't know what's new, what's old, what's you started, what you finished. I think if you just go with the simple strategy of having 3 folders, name it 1, 2, 3 ideas, which is your scratch pads. They're your little bits and pieces. We come in here. These are like little ideas and little bits and pieces that I've got. So if I come in here, I can go to this experiment in G, and I'm like, oh, what was this again? Let's have a play. Oh yeah, it's that one. So I can play around with that. I've then got my in progress folder, which should probably be your smallest folder. So these are just the things that I'm working on at the moment, and just the things that are in progress, literally that are happening right now. And then I've got my complete folder. And in my complete folder, I've also got other folders of entire projects. So I've got my whole Selfish Aware project there. I've got my 2020 Song Timber project. I've got my EP Mayhem there. So everything is semi-organized. And again, I probably need to spend some time because some stuff has kind of slipped in here, but that's kind of my go-to for that. And then if you've got USB drives or you've got other backup drives, just use the same folder structure. Like just have your ideas, your in progress, and your complete. Since I've done that, it hasn't solved everything, but it has definitely improved. I'm feeling better, and I can find things a lot easier when I'm jumping around. But very good question, and something that I know many folks actually struggle with as well. I've missed a whole bunch here. Oh, it didn't let me paste in that link. That's all right. See, I missed a whole bunch, and then it jumps me right down to the bottom. It's one of the problems where using StreamYard. I've got so many questions. I'm going to have to get a wriggle on here, aren't I? All right, I've probably missed a bunch, but we'll just jump back. Paul Hyam says, "Hi Pete, is it possible to record 2 tracks at once on GarageBand?" Sure is, if you have a 2-channel interface. So I'll show you this real quick because I'm going to run out of time with this. Yes, you can. So if we come in here and we go into my ideas folder, because I'll do the right thing, ideas, and we go create song. If we go and set up 1 channel, so if you've got a 2-channel interface, it means that, so you've got a microphone and then a guitar, or 2 microphones, or whatever it is. See in the bottom here, we've got channel 1. We can change this to channel 2. So this might be recording a guitar on channel 2, and we can set our settings there. If we then go to plus, and then we can go to voice, this one's on channel 1, yeah? So we've got one on channel 2, one on channel 1. If we're here in our track view, all we need to do is arm both of those, and then as soon as we hit record, there's a little number 2 in there, and it's going to record both of those tracks, yeah? That's it. Simple as that. You just need to make sure that you have 2-channel interface, each channel set to a different channel, hit record, and you are off to the races. Very cool. Side out. So this is to do with our loops question from before. The loops are chosen by GarageBand, so when I browse, I don't see everything, even after I turn the filters off. Strange. That is strange. Play around with that, dig around, check some of the other videos that I've done about the GarageBand samples and the sound packs, because yeah, you should be able to solve for that. Or jump over, if you've got GarageBand questions, honestly, even if you're not a GarageBand person, join the GarageBand users Facebook group. There are 10,000 people, and most of them, many of them know more than I do, and definitely have more time to answer specific questions. So please, if you're struggling with GarageBand or if you have questions, jump over and check that out. Question from Huskadoo. When recording a synth with stereo outputs into an effects pedal with stereo outputs, like an Eventide Space, should I have 2 cables going from the synth to pedal and 2 from pedal to DAW? If it's stereo, then yes. And if it's using TRS cables, then yes. So I've got a video about it. I'm going to have to start answering some of these questions with, go check out my video blah, because otherwise we will be here a long time. But if we go... and we are here for a good time, not a long time. No, we're actually here for both. We're here for a good time and a long time. So let's search for this one. Pete Johns, which cable is what I'll search. My name, Pete Johns, which cable. And what I would do is jump over and check out my cable guide. I've got a heap of them here. So if you check these ones out, I've got a 2-minute guide there. I've got the difference between TS, TRS, and TRRS. I've got this one here, which is like a complete guide to home studio cables. And the other thing you can do is actually go over to studiolivetoday.com/cables. And this one's even better because this gives you a complete guide to all the stuff. So you've got the video link there. You've got Sweetwater's cable finder that's very cool. And then you've got all the different types. So for you, if it's a stereo output and it's using balanced output, so a TRS, then yeah, exactly as you say there, you'd need this balanced TRS output from an instrument to an audio interface. And you'd need 2 because you need one for the left and one for the right balanced cable. If it's just a stereo out, then you'd need either a splitter that goes from stereo to dual mono, or you just need to send stereo to stereo. So it really depends on the gear, and it depends on what signal you're sending. But for most that I've used, most sort of higher end gear has stereo TRS, which means it'll have a left and a right. You'll need 2 balanced TRS cables. And then if you're going from that piece of gear to another bit, you'll need another 2 balanced TRS cables. I've literally just put in an order on Amazon for 2 sets of 2 cables. And of course they're red, which means they go faster. But yeah, jump over to the cable guide if you do that. If you've got more questions. Question, have I listened to Math Rock? I haven't, and I don't know what that is. Educate us, EmoBot9000. Educate us with your EmoBot. Hello, Autism Rocks. Another channel you need to check out. Micah and Danny over at Autism Rocks. Music by the Positive Autism. Very, very cool. Very great music. Very inspirational stuff. Get on over if you haven't already done that. Andrew Bunce. When exporting songs from GB, it appears to output in MP4. Is it possible to output in MP3? What's the difference? Thanks, love the channel. Good question. Let's answer it as quickly and as efficiently as we can. So, when we are outputting from GarageBand, as you've correctly indicated, it uses, it's actually M4A, but it's a variant of MP4 audio. It is a compressed audio standard. So what do we mean by that? Well, let's just come out here. We'll export this song of nothing because it's going to be a bit strange, but we'll do it. So when you come and you share a song, as you're saying here, you go song. It's got everything from low quality to high quality to iTunes Plus, and these are all at kilobits per second, which is the compression, the bit rate of the compression. Low bit rate, low quality. High bit rate, high quality. These are the ones that are uncompressed, and this is what I would recommend. If you're using it and you're going to master your music, you're going to release it, you're going to add it to a video, use an uncompressed format because you won't lose any quality. These are called lossless. That Apple one's even called lossless, and they'll be in an AIF or a WAV format. Anything that's MP3 or M4A is a lossy format, meaning that they are actually finding frequencies that aren't being used and removing them to reduce the file size. So if you're emailing something to someone, if you're just sharing it on SoundCloud and you don't care so much about pristine quality, then you can use these, but I would use at least the 192, if not the 256. Now, the difference between that and MP3 is just the codec. It's just the processing used. So all Apple devices pretty much use M4A now. MP3 is an older standard, but if you need MP3, there is an app called Voice Recorder Pro 7. This one here, Voice Record 7, that is a great app. You can actually throw in your M4As or your WAV files and convert them to MP3, to stereo, to mono, to all sorts of things. So it's a great file converter. Even though it's designed as a voice recorder, it's a great file converter. So you don't, unless you need it, the actual quality is not going to be any different. In fact, you'll lose a bit of quality compressing it and changing it over to MP3. So don't worry about that. But yeah, hopefully that answers most of those for you there, Andrew. We'll scroll on down. TTW, do you know of a sitar in GarageBand? I don't think there is a sitar in GarageBand. Is there? Has anyone found a sitar? There might be one in something like Sample Tank, but I haven't found one. Not that I'm aware of in GarageBand, but you know what? The one way to do it is for your loops, you can search. So unfortunately, you don't have a really good search engine for things like the Alchemy synth, but if you're using loops, if you're coming in here and we're in our track view and we go to our loops, we can search in here. So if I wanted to see if we had anything sitar based, I could search for sitar. And look at that, we do have a sitar or a chop sitar. Oh, it's all chopped up. What about this one? So short answer is yes, but they're all in loops. Now you might think, oh, that's a loss, that's a lose, Pete, there, we can't do that. But don't forget, you can chop up your loops, right? So if you listen to this and you brought this in and you were like, oh, look, it's even got a sitar logo there. How cool is that? So what I would do, say I just wanted to use that, I'd actually come here and I'd chop up this sample. So we'd tap there, we'd go split, we'd split it out, we'd get rid of that front section and get rid of that back section and just use this. And then you could even like pitch it around. So if you wanted to do like, and then you could copy it. So if we copied this and brought it into this next bar and we wanted to pitch it up, you could paste it in there. And the beautiful part about Apple Loops, we go into our settings, we can actually change the pitch. So if we bring this up like 5 semitones, we can bring it up and do a bit of this sort of action. How cool is this? So you can start sort of building out your track there. So short answer, no. Longer answer, yes. But you've got to use loops. You got to have faith and you got to use loops. Friggsy says, thanks, Pete. Maybe I just need to iOS. Yeah, well, you know, join us on the dark side. No, whatever you use, whatever works for you. But yeah, like I say, back to those VST questions. Yeah, check out Sample Tank. Not cheap, but check it out. And if anyone else, again, go to Mike's channel. Have you you're on Creative Source? Mike NU, who runs Creative Source, Australian dude, very good friend of mine. If you have not checked out Creative Source before, you should. He does a lot of stuff in Studio One, but also in Cakewalk by BandLab, and he shows a lot of that sort of stuff. So if we go, I'm just going to search over here, Creative Source. This is the man with the plan. There he is. Look at him. He's rocketing along. 64,000 subscribers there. So he's got a bunch. Oh, he's just done a distro kid video. Nice. So he's done, IK Multimedia's Modo drums, vocal processing, Melodyne, Cakewalk MIDI basics, and he actually covers a lot of cool things like virtual guitar VSTs. In fact, if we go Creative Source VST guitar, he's got a whole series of different, this one's really cool. Realistic VST guitars, free amp sims, a heap of videos there you want to go check out. Mike at Creative Source for all your creative saucy needs. Hello, how are you? How to correct not even vocal voice in iPad GarageBand. So if the volume is not level, compression is kind of your friend with that. Automation you can use if you want to, and then auto tune or pitch control. And I won't go into detail here because I have videos on all those things. So if say it's the pitch that you want to play around with and you want some tips on how to do that, jump over to this video. Just search my name, Pete Johnson Auto Tune. Watch this video. I show you how to do some really subtle auto tune that doesn't sound like the boo. That's not T-painting it, but it's just nice and subtle. If you're looking for learning about compression, which can sort of level out, use some automated leveling to level out the volume, then you can check these out. Vocal compression, check that video out. That will help you there. Again, just search Pete Johns compression. And the big one is automation. Volume automation for the win. So you can check out how to automate volume change, how to automate effects. So if you're in GarageBand and you're on the iPad and you're trying to learn those things, again, your best friend is your YouTube search. Just put my name and then whatever you're looking for, and you'll find a bunch of different videos about that. So hopefully go away and watch some of those, and that should help you out there, my friend. Tommy Two Bats recorded a bunch of songs in GB in 2011 and 2010 on MacBooks. Subsequent models of the Mac have different sound cards or specs, so the songs don't play. Anyone know a fix? It's hardware. I don't, but hopefully someone has given you some tips here in the chat. And if not, we might get to them as I scroll down through because I'm still way behind. But if not, hopefully I'll be able to come back and check on those. But I don't know because I've only just started using a Mac. It may be to do with sample rate, so maybe check your sample rate. So make sure that that's still 44-bit 1 or 24-bit or 16-bit. See if there's a compatibility mode. I'm really not sure. I would ask someone that is better for Mac stuff. Go to the GarageBand guide. TTW, I'm loving the Oasis t-shirt. One of my music inspirations, although I like Blur as well. Are you allowed to like both Oasis? Yeah, I like my Oasis shirt. Are you allowed to like Oasis and Blur? I'm not sure. Not sure if it's right. Joe's saying, thinking of making Barry wear a mask when he's playing to cut out noisy breathing. I have noisy breathing too. Actually, I was listening back to a video the other day, and because this is a handheld condenser mic, I was getting so annoyed by my breathing, and now I'm trying to get a bit more distance so that you're not picking up that breath. But what I'll probably end up doing is switching back to just my AKG D5. That way I can turn up the compressor a bit, but it's not going to pick up every time I breathe. And now you're going to be hearing it too, and I'm very sorry. I'll try to get away every time I breathe. Oh, there you go. Hit the like button, mates. We're at 41. Thank you. 41 people like it. I like you. I like you. You're good people, and you should feel good. Hello to Kim, who's dropped in here as well. If you're here and you're new, why don't you give a hashtag new? If it's your first time here on the channel, put hashtag new, and I bet you 1,000 Aussie dollar bucks that you'll get a lot of the regular usual suspects here saying g'day to you and treating you super nice, because that's what people do around here. John Renards, do you think GarageBand will add a sidechain feature? Oh, I need some coffee to prepare for that. No. Okay, next question. No, I'll give you a more relevant answer. So, do I think GarageBand will add sidechain? So, for those who are not familiar with what sidechaining is or what it's all about, sidechaining is the ability to take one track and control an effect, such as a compressor or a EQ or automation or reverb, based on that. So, if you've ever heard that that sort of vroom, 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 where it sounds like the bass or the synth is coming in and out based on the kick drum. That's using some sort of side chaining. So it'll keep compressing and I'll be hitting it when something's happening on another track. It's as simple as that. The reason GarageBand doesn't have it is we have no track sends and receives. So you can't send an audio signal from one track to another. So in a DAW like Cubase's, so if we jump over here and we go to Cubase's 3, in a DAW like Cubase's, you do have the ability to sidechain, because if you look here, you've got send effects. So you can actually set up, and you've got routing. So what you can do, I could take this track here, I could take the drum track and then sidechain it to the bass track, and then add the compression based on when that bass was actually coming in. So you need the ability to have sends and receives and to be able to route your tracks from one track to another. And the cool thing you can do with that is you can set up separate effects channels. So you can have a whole channel that's just reverb and then send a little bit of each track and control it that way. And then you can turn all your reverbs on and off. So it is actually a really cool option. I don't think that Apple will ever bother putting sends and receives. It adds complexity. Like, the reason GarageBand is good and the reason a lot of people use it is its simplicity. As soon as you add sends and receives and some sort of input-output matrix and have multiple ins and multiple outs, it does basically double or triple the level of complexity you have. So I know sidechaining is a desired thing. Maybe, you know what, maybe they'll do, knowing what Apple would do, maybe they'll do, because it's so popular in electronic music, maybe they'll add an option here in the track where you just tap this and there's literally a sidechain button. So they don't set up a whole send and receive thing, but there's a sidechain button, and then you just point it to the track you want to sidechain with, and it does it, like some sort of basic version of it. So I wouldn't discount it. It's not out of the realms of possibility, but I wouldn't be holding your breath. If you really desperately want to sidechain, I'd check out Cubase's 3, because even though it's a paid app, it's about $30 US, I think, usually. It has a lot more options and a lot more under the hood if you're looking for those sort of things. So good question, though. And thank you for being here. Thank you for asking it. And yeah, as folks said before, if you are getting value from this, it does help me out if you hit the thumbs up button. If you're not getting value, hit the thumbs down button twice. That's one of Mike's old jokes. Mike from Creative Source. I stole that with him from Pride. With Pride. Alrighty. John says, I was just thinking about a similar thing. Could I potentially try making lo-fi remix of your song? But yeah, 100%. So it's not special just for Joey that he gets access to them. In fact, if you are a patron, you already have access to all of these. So if you join the patron, that's one of the perks you get for being a patron over at patreon.com/PeteJohns, is that you get access to my whole album worth of full GarageBand projects. And then you have so Joey has my 100% permission to do with these as he wishes. He owns them. He doesn't need to pay me licensing fees. He doesn't need to worry about me coming after him for copyright. I have gifted that album to him and to all those who support me over on Patreon. So thank you. Thank you for everyone who does support me. Luke says, anxiety about laying down my first DAW guitar track. I've got a good punk song I wrote yesterday. Should I just do it? I think you know the answer. And I'm pretty sure as I go down that other people will be saying it. Yep, Stu Cash says definitely. SM Borthwick says just do it. Just do it. And accept that it may suck. And embrace, in fact, don't just accept, embrace that it may suck. But embrace the fact that you will learn so much along the way that it will be very much worth the suck. Even if you suck, it will be worth it. Right? That sounds like a weird thing to say, but just create it. Joey Helpish, who we were just talking about, says make something terrible and do it again and do it again and do it again. Just repeat. You've got unlimited retries. If the first time you try is terrible, I bet you learn something. And it's just as important to learn what doesn't work and what sounds crap as it is to learn what does work and what sounds awesome. And you know the only way to work out what sounds awesome and what sounds crap is to try. And keep trying and keep doing and keep recording. So Luke, I want to, in a week's time, I want to be sitting here and I want you to say, I just finished my first song. And I don't care if it's great or terrible, it's done. Done is it? What is it? Perfection is the enemy of done. Just get it done and do it. Beelzebub, thank you for the super chat. I can see it here and I'll talk to it and I'll get to it when I get to it. But if I pop it on the screen, I'll lose my spot and I'm about 20 minutes behind the chat. So I'm trying to catch up on questions that we've had. I do this every time. I should move to the form, but thank you so much, Beelzebub, for the super chat. If anyone else does want to, I'll do the joke because I like to do the joke. If without your support over at Patreon, without you giving me thumbs up, without you subscribing, without you throwing super chats like Beelzebub has done here, we can't keep the lights on and we look like this. And unless you want to see every video like this, you can help me by turning the lights on. Some may say that was an improvement. Let's continue on. Yes, everyone saying, Luke, get into it. Get in. Make the mistakes. Just do it. Get started. I like this. I'm going to answer these because this will give me a quick break from answering these. So this will give you a little insight into me. I used to do a little fun section on these Ask Me Anything where I did a bunch of those quick questions like this, and then I realized that I was probably giving away the answers to most of the secret questions on most of my password recovery, so I stopped doing it. But these ones look like fun. Paper or plastic? 100% plastic. I don't remember the last time I used cash for anything. Cream corn or on the cob? On the cob only. Cannot stand cream corn. Hot or cold? Cold over hot, but when I drink coffee, which is my coffee or tea, it has to be hot, because I'm actually off iced coffee. I used to be a big iced coffee fan. It's full of sugar. I'm trying to cut back. Star Trek or Star Wars? Wars if I have to choose, but as we've discussed before, I'm not really a fan of either. Sorry. Magazines or books? Books, but they've got to be audio books because I'm an audio and a kinesthetic learner, which means I learn through hearing things and I learn through doing things, and slightly visual because I learn through video medium. I don't learn through reading words and absorbing them, not how my brain's wired. Learned that a while ago and it's helped. Unfortunately, school doesn't learn that. School doesn't appreciate that some people don't learn by reading words in a book. Netflix or Hulu? Good question. Probably watch more Hulu than Netflix, to be honest, because it has The Simpsons. So we'll go with that. Actually, no, they're on Disney Plus now. So I'll probably watch Disney Plus more than either. Deep dish or thin crust? I'm a thin crust man through and through. I love a traditional margarita pizza in a wood-fired oven with a thin crust. Nothing better, in my opinion. Just stopping in, when is the next listening to your music stream? Your Music Live is kicking off tomorrow. I've got to get all the live streams set up. They're not there yet, but as soon as this show's finished, that's my next job, is getting all those set up. And as I mentioned before, if you want to know when everything's happening, you can actually jump over, join the mailing list. That is the place to be, the place to go for all your Studio Live Today needs. If you ever like, when is Pete gonna blah? When is the whatchamacallit show? What's happening when and where and how? In Studio Live Today land, jump to this website, studiolivetoday.com/email. I don't ask for anything but your email address, and I promise you get one email. It takes me enough effort to get the one email out a week, which is the newsletter. You're not going to get multiple. I'm not going to be spamming you. So, and I don't want your name. I don't want your age, your location. I don't want your t-shirt size. Unless, of course, you want to buy a t-shirt. Then you might need your t-shirt size. But head on over there, studiolivetoday.com/email. Join the mailing list and you'll be the first to know what's going down right here. Alrighty. Zoom makes such great devices. How much would I sell it for? Yeah, good question. I don't know. I can't even remember. It was $399 US new. Cost me about $900 to get it imported over to Australia at the time. And yeah, so I'll see how I go. And I probably don't really want to have to send it out of the country because it's a struggle. Doctor's orders. All right, we're going to do it. Doctor's orders is a bit of a meme around here and around the Jade Star channel, and even Joey's now got on board. Every time we see doctor's orders, what do we have to do? We have to do this. Doctor's orders. I don't know why. I don't know why it started. It's Jade's fault, and I'm going to blame her. Alrighty. Metalhead Hippie. Would you get this over the Tascam 12 at the same price? Ooh, I haven't, to be honest, we're talking mixers here again. If you missed the earlier section, I haven't looked at the Tascam 12 in a lot of detail. It is in my consideration range. It is a little more expensive and it's definitely more full featured. So if we come over, I'll go to where it is here, show you how expensive things are in Australian dollar bucks. Check this out, the Tascam Model 12. Boom, $1,099. The same price as my entire Mac is what I would pay for this. But what you get with the Model 12 is it's more of a traditional type mixer. So you've got your full EQ here, you've got your panning, you've got your sends and receive, you've got your pre and your post fader mixing. It's a full beast of a mixer. Look at that I/O and the back there. Sorry, getting a bit excited. Yeah, so I do like the Tascam. And look, the wood grain. Wood grain, come on, that's so good. But if you, it's basically, the Yamaha MG series, the MG12 is like a a cut down version of that. So this is probably what I'll end up getting for the studio. Oh, they're back in stock. Hello. The MG12. Oh, that's not the USB. That's why. MG12, yeah, the USB one is out of stock. This has been out of stock for a while now. This is probably what I'll go with, Hippie, to replace what I'm using at the moment, because it's very much a much simpler device. It just pushes stereo out, and I'm finding that with the Zoom Live Track, I just don't need all the bells and whistles. I want something that works and that functions. You can probably appreciate this. As we get older, mate, you don't want all the bells and whistles. You just want something that you plug in and it works first time, every time. And I've heard really good things. These have got the Yamaha D-Pre's, which are the same preamps that are on my Steinberg UR12, because it's all made by Yamaha. They're all owned by the same people. And as you can see here, this is half the price of a Tascam Model 12. So this is probably what I'll end up using in my future. And of course, it's a mixer too. You can use it. You can plug it in and use it portably if I ever wanted to take it with me on the road. But yeah, I think that's where I'll end up there. USB connection, powered by AC power. Just right in that wheelhouse. So, but yeah, the Tascam Model 12, as you heard by my drooling sound there, is something that I do like the look of. All right, we'll scroll on down. I'm looking for the word question. Great question. I don't know which one it was, but it was a great question. So hopefully I answered it. See, this is how far behind I am. We're talking the folders. So these are when we were talking about my folder structure in GarageBand, and that's what folks are talking about and how they do that. I have so many new to sort folders, way too many. Yeah, right. It's like as soon as you have a folder called miscellaneous, everything goes in it. Have you ever done that? You've been trying to file stuff, and you're like, yeah, you put it in the miscellaneous file. Boy soup. Is there a big difference between the Scarlett Solo and the 2i2? No, there isn't. You know what the biggest difference is? If you don't need to record a stereo instrument, the Solo is absolutely fine. If you ever want to record a stereo instrument, so we're talking a synthesizer or a keyboard or a piano or something that outputs stereo sound, then you'll be looking for these 2i2. Let's use Sweetwater this time, because I know most of you are in the US and Canada, and this is where you'll be doing your searching. So if we'll search out the Scarlett Solo, I'll show you the difference here. And I own a Scarlett 2i2. It's what I use on my Mac for recording, as well as the Samson mix pad I'm using for my live stream here right now. But you can see here when I jump across, for $109, very good price on this one. This is the Scarlett Solo. So you've got a one channel there, which is, so it's called a solo, but it's actually a 2 input. You've got one there, which is your preamp. So you've only got one preamp, one microphone. So you can only record one microphone, and you've got one instrument jack. You can record them both at the same time. So if you're recording an acoustic guitar, you can plug it direct in via the instrument jack and your microphone in there. But if you wanted to say mic up your acoustic and then record your microphone for your vocals, you can't do that. But look at this, 104 reviews, 5-star on Sweetwater. Like, you know that means that's good. And yeah, for $109, you really can't go wrong. The main difference, so yeah, you've still got balanced outputs there. You got your balanced output, USB-C connectivity, all of the same stuff you've got going on there, and you got your direct monitoring there, your gain dials, your instrument. You've even got the new little air knob, and your 48 volts of phantom power. So yeah, very, very good interface. The difference here, if we search for the Scarlett 2i2, the main difference you'll notice immediately is it uses these combo jacks on the front. So you've got the ability to plug in 2 microphones or 2 instruments or stereo. So if you've got a stereo instrument, you can plug the stereo, one into the left channel, one into the right channel, and record it as a stereo signal. That's something you can't do because one is an XLR plug and one's a TRS plug. You can't do that on the Solo. So if you ever want to do anything stereo, you need the 2i2. There's no other difference here. You still got the direct monitoring. You got your monitor. You got your 48 volts of phantom. You got your headphone jack. Flip it around to the back here. You've got the exact same connections here. So that is literally it. The difference is you get one less preamp and you don't have the ability to plug an instrument. Therefore, you can't use stereo line output and then record that here. So hopefully that answers your question, but both are very good. And by the way, if you're in the market for new gear and you were wondering how do I find all the cool gear that Pete uses and recommends? Well, I'm glad you asked. You jump on over to studiolivetoday.com/gear and you check out the gear guide. So at the top here, if you're just browsing around, you can jump straight into Amazon, Sweetwater, eBay, or Thomann, and then anytime you make a purchase, what they do is they break off a tiny chunk and they send it to me. So you're supporting the channel, but you pay the same amount for whatever you buy. You want to see my setup? Well, you can see the video by clicking there, or you can see all this. This is everything that's currently in my studio. Needs an update because it's from last month, but it's all pretty much the same. So you want to know what audio interface I use, what microphone, what keyboard, what guitar, what MIDI devices. It's all there. You can find all the things, and then it's all categorized here. So all the different stuff that I recommend and have used or has been recommended to me by people I trust is all here for you. And if you're like, oh, I've been listening to Pete for a while, he keeps raving on about this Audio-Technica AT2020, you come in here, you click the link, you click the Amazon link or the Sweetwater link, and there you go. It's in stock, you add it to your cart, you buy it. It's as simple as that. And by doing that and using the links at studiolivetoday.com/gear, you'll be supporting me and the channel here as well. So thank you. Thank you for everybody's help. Excuse me a moment. Alrighty, we'll move on here. What are we at? We're over an hour. We're probably going to go to 2 here today, or at least to an hour and a half, folks. Oh, that coffee is cold. We better switch to the water anyway. G-Loss says, hi Pete, let us know when you get into Logic Pro. Yeah, it'll be a while. I've been saying this, I've said this a few times, that it will take me a while to finally get into Logic Pro. I'm still learning GarageBand at this point. So I will get there, but it'll be at least another month or two while I'm still learning. All right. It did that thing where I'm so far behind, it kicked me out and said, no, we got to catch you up. So I probably missed a few. I apologize, but we're going to keep scrolling down here, and I'll get closer to that. Tom Rochelle's memeing us here. I'm in my mouth away from the mic when I breathe. That's the old chocolate rain. I can't remember the rest of it, but yeah. Is anyone else, hands up, who's old enough? Give me a chocolate rain. Sing your best chocolate rain in there. Hashtag old. I asked for hashtag new. We got old, we got geriatric, and the metalhead hippie is moldy. And Mark said a swear word, although he has self-censored himself, so that's good. All right, let's continue on. Beelzebub, and again, thank you. I have finally seen it. It jumped past, but I finally did see your super chat, so thank you again. It pops up the top, thankfully now, so at least notifies me. But yeah, I was nowhere near it. Is MainStage worth the money? How user-friendly is it in a live playing guitar setting? I don't have it yet, but I need to get it, don't I? I should probably just take the plunge and buy MainStage. Is it in the App Store? Should we do it live? We'll do it live. We'll do it live. You know what? If it's in the App Store and it doesn't cost that much. Problem is, I'm going to eventually go to Logic, but it's it's $47. Live rig for musicians, but see. It's probably not, I'll show you what I'm looking at here. It's probably not worth me actually exploring because all the instruments in MainStage, so here's the thing, all the instruments in MainStage are in Logic. So Logic here, I think in Australia is about, $300? So this is $50. So if I was never buying Logic, this would make sense. I get all the instruments, but I only pay $50 instead of $300. I want to try out Logic and then play around with that for 3 months. And if I like it, I'll buy it. So it probably doesn't make sense for me to jump in here and buy MainStage. It does look cool. It does look like it does a lot of cool things. But yeah, maybe I'm not the person. This is not the app for me. I reckon I would be very surprised if someone like Patrick over at the GarageBand Guide hasn't. I know he's done a video about MainStage. Let's see if he's got something. Oop, I can't even type the word YouTube. Let's go here to GarageBand Guide and MainStage. There you go. How to get Logic. Yeah, so he's done this video here a year ago, which is how to get all of the MainStage instruments. Doesn't look like he's done one. Patrick, if you're watching or if you're catching the replay, you should do a video about using MainStage. You've done this one here about how to get all the instruments, all of Logic's instruments into MainStage, which is...
Hey, songwriters, welcome.
Oh, no, it's not. It's Dean. It's Dean Davis. Hey, it's our man, Dean Davis. So Dean has done a video, how to get Logic's instruments and loops in GarageBand. So Dean, or maybe he has. I don't know. Search it around. I'm not going to do it right now because, again, I think it's probably, in terms of whether it's worth the money, yes, if you're never going to update to Logic, but you want all the benefits of all the additional instruments. In fact, who was it? Oh, no, it was Frigsy who was looking for VSTs. If you're on a Mac and you're looking for more instruments, I think MainStage is a good investment because it's, what, $30 US, $50 here in Australia. Devil's Thumb. I get much more done on iOS GarageBand versus Mac. Am I missing something? Logic ever coming to iOS? Logic coming to iOS? Possibly, probably, maybe. We don't know. I keep changing my view and opinion on that. So I'm going to get some AC in the action here. I keep changing and getting a different view. But maybe. In terms of getting more done, I'm kind of the same. People say to me, why do you use GarageBand iOS? Aren't there a heap of limitations? Aren't you always like going, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that and it won't work? Short answer is no, not really. I almost like the limitations. I never find myself pushing up against the 32 tracks, or I never find myself desperately needing additional functions. For the sort of music I make and the workflow that I like, it works for me. It's the same as using LumaFusion. I'll probably never go back to Adobe Premiere, even though it can do a whole lot more stuff. I just don't do it. I don't use it. And I may find the same with Logic on a Mac. When I finally try it, I may be like, this is great. If I was producing 128 track pop music with a whole bunch of sends and effects and things, maybe this would be awesome. But maybe not. Yeah. Or buy an app that does sidechain. Yeah, can you use a sidechain app? You could probably embed something like multi-track recorder in GarageBand and get that to do the side chaining with other. I don't know. I've never really tried side chaining that much. There it is, Beelzebub. We finally got to you. This is how far behind we are. I'll keep scrolling down. We'll keep going and finding some more questions. Once again, if you're just here and you're new, just put question in front of your question. And it'll make sure I can locate it. Like I can find things like this, but it just makes it a lot harder. And it's a heap easier if you put question in front. But is there any Bluetooth with zero latency? No. Latency is getting better, but it's still not great. So if you want to record and get the best quality sound and the lowest latency, you need to use wired headphones. If you don't, then you just have to put up with additional latency. And some apps don't even work on iOS with Bluetooth. Those things like Final Touch, you can't use Bluetooth headphones for whatever reason. So get yourself a pair of wired headphones. It's still the best way to go, I believe. But that may change in the future. But for now, there is still latency. All right, yeah, got more advice here about just doing things. Get the suck out of the way and move forward, right? Just keep recording and keep playing, because you won't get to there if you don't try. Just keep trying. Joe, can we do an Irish version of Drinking With You? I would love, if you and Barry did an Irish version, you have my absolute permission. I'll leave, I'm more than happy. You're a patron already, Joe, so you can go to the archives or hit me up, send me a message if you can't find it. But yeah, you can go in and grab the project for Drinking With You, use it or don't use it, just recreate it, whatever. But yeah, everything on that album is virtually public domain at this stage. I've just given it, I've put no copyright on it. I mean, it is technically my copyrighted work, but I'm the artist, I'm completely independent, and I get to choose what I do with it. And I choose to let you good folks have at it. So I would love to hear an Irish version of that. Because when I first sang it, I kind of sang it an Irish version, and someone actually called me on it. I did an acoustic version of it, and someone's like, yeah, are you putting on that Irish accent? I'm like, didn't even realize I was doing it, because when I first did it, I would go, oh, the bars and the pubs used to thrill me. With a couple of pints, I was happy to... And I'm like, oh, I probably don't need to sing that Irish. So I just sort of eased it back a little bit. But thank you. Let's see. Question here from Huska, which makes me think of Huskadoo every time. Are groove tracks pretty much mainly used for changing the tempo of the project? If you got the initial BPM wrong, then setting up the project at the beginning. I don't know, because I've never used them. So that's going to be a really short answer. So are they used for changing the tempo of the project if you got the initial BPM wrong and setting up the project at the beginning? I mean, yeah, if you get the initial tempo wrong, I tend to go back and start again. So I know that there's some ways that you can work around it, that you can adjust the audio, that you can make it fit, that you can pitch shift it up and down. It never sounds right to me. So if I do something and I start recording instruments or even virtual instruments and it's not the right tempo, unless it's a very simple arrangement, I'll literally just go back and re-record it. at the correct tempo, because there's something about there's something about just playing it in that you get a different kind of thing. I don't know. Books, yep, there you go, books. Uh, I'd like to see someone program Pete's Light to go to disco. I know. Well, I have thought that because I do use the Philips Hue, and you can get those Philips Hue that you can change not only the light. So I've just got the dimmer switch here, so I can give us some mood lighting. Yeah, girl. Or we can go up to the yeah girl thing is like a long story. When I was creating a song, for some reason, I sang a lyric and I made it up at the time. It's nothing to do with anything. Anyway, but yeah, I'd love to get like the purple or the LEDs, and then we can just have a doom, doom, doom. We can have our own disco party here in the studio, maybe. What's today's discussion? As you probably picked it up, it's everything. It's everything. And as Jade says, if you want to keep up to date, you can go to studiolivetoday.com/email. Yeah, so we're talking everything. It's Ask Me Anything. So we're talking about all sorts of home recording, mobile recording, gear, GarageBand, whatever you want to ask about. FL Studio or GarageBand. I use GarageBand. Fruity Loops. I used to use it. I've used it before. It's cool. And I know a lot of people use it and get some really cool tunes from it. I don't think it matters. People talk to me and they're like, "Oh man, you must tell everyone to use GarageBand." And I say, "Nope, I don't actually care what people use. If you create and whatever works for you, basically, if it works for your workflow and you're creating cool tunes, you do you. Go your hardest. Use what works for you." So I know many people that use FL Studio create great music. I use people that use GarageBand also create great music. How do you get a PIP and your iPad? I'll picture in picture and your iPad at the same time. If you're talking about right now, so I use StreamYard. So my setup here, should I? No, it'll make it a mess. I keep sounding like I'm trying to be a salesperson and make you join Patreon, but I've done a few behind the scenes things lately and shown my patrons over at patreon.com/patrons how I do this. So just if you can visualize it, I have two screens. I'm looking at you and I'm looking at my face, and I have the chat down the side here, so I can throw chat things. I can say doctor's orders, hello to you, and I can put up your question here. I've also got a second screen over here, which is displaying what I was showing before. So when I was showing the Audio Technica microphone there, and I was showing my gear guide here, I can show whatever I want in the browser, and that's all good. But then I use an app called Reflector 3, and if I just minimize that, sitting behind here is my iPad. So this is actually reflecting from my iPad, which is sitting right here, onto the screen, onto my Mac. So it's air playing it onto my Mac screen, and then I'm sharing and streaming that screen that has this screen on it. It all gets a bit Inception after a while, doesn't it? But this screen inside of that screen. So it just means that at any given time, I can have browser windows, I can have any Mac applications, I can also have anything on my iPad, and if I wanted to, I could even send my iPhone over to there if I use the AirDrop, because I can AirDrop up to like 6 different devices at a time. So all of this is done by the magic of having 2 monitors here on the Mac Mini M1 using StreamYard, which I recommend. I get the paid version, but there is also a free version, sharing my screen, and then using the app Reflector 3 to air play my iPad. And that all ends up in the magic that you see here with all the different things going on. It would cost me an arm and a leg to send to France. Yeah, people have when I've been selling my gear off, people are like, "Oh, I'm in France, I'm in Canada, I'm in the US, I'm in the UK. Can you send it to me?" I'm like, if I'm selling you $100, $200, $300 piece of gear, especially if it's a heavy bit of gear, it's probably going to cost $100 just in shipping. So unfortunately, we are not at the point where I can afford to ship things outside of Australia. But anyone in Australia looking for some gear, let's just say I'll have a bunch of secondhand gear coming up very soon. So hit me up if you're in the market for anything. Nonado says, I have the MG10 XU and it's my favorite. I use it more than my Focusrite 404. Yeah. And I've heard that the preamps, because sometimes if you get a mixer, the preamps, the quality, the quietness of the preamp can kind of be a bit of a trade-off. So you don't get the quality of audio that you would get with a dedicated audio interface. Like you kind of, the mixer, because they have to put in the EQ and the compressor and everything else, they skimp on the preamp. I've heard the Yamaha MG series have excellent preamps and work really well. I haven't. The Aussie guys probably know this. There's an amazing Aussie punk band I stumbled across called A Mill and the Sniffers, their Class. Huh. That's not off topic. Music is the topic. So anything that's music, we're going to talk about. Very cool. The Zoom mixer has an SD card. Yeah, the Zoom Live Track L8 does have an SD card slot. You can record directly to that, which means you can record anywhere on the go. Jade also has the MG10XU, and Tom is hoping to get the MG10XU soon. Yeah, I'm probably going to go the MG12 USB version when it comes back in stock. It just hasn't been in stock for a really long time. Oh, we'll just keep scrolling and see. What's my favorite amp head? Mine is Marshall. Yeah, look, I'll be super honest with you. I haven't used an amplifier with like a head and a cab for 20 years, I reckon. And people are like, oh, but you're a guitar guy. I'm like, I'm not really a guitar. I play guitar, but I'm not really a guitar guy in that I don't have a guitar collection per se. I have a few guitars. And basically, since I discovered how good guitar amp Sims can be, I've got a little Marshall. It's just an old transistor, not even a valve Marshall, little transistor Marshall up there. I found my old PV Rage in the shed, and I brought it in here to dust it off, and I need to take the knobs off and put the alcohol in there because they're crackly. But yeah, I literally don't use an amp. But when I did use an amp. Then it was a Marshall, because that's what was going around. That's what everyone played back then, and I wanted to play what my favorite bands were playing. 13 plus 35 equals whatever my calculator tells me it does, because you don't need to learn maths anymore. Sorry, no kids, you do need to learn maths. It's 48. But yeah, I actually do like maths. Let's scroll down and we'll see. Once again, if you do have questions, put the word question in front of your question and we'll try and answer your question. Questions. So we'll come down here. We've got people talking about different things on the MIDI strummer, the steel guitar. Thank you to Jade, who's here on the ball, putting the gear guide there in the description there. Chocolate Rain. There you go. Of course I got it. I don't understand today's memes. If you told me a TikTok meme from today, I have no idea what you're talking about. But boy, do I know those early internet memes. Like we're talking back before, like YouTube was barely a thing when we had the Chocolate Rains and the Star Wars kids and all the cool stuff. If you want to learn all the old memes, leave Brittany alone. Watch the Weezer video for the song Pork and Beans, because they got all of the original artists from all the original like meme videos of the sort of early 2000s to 2010 kind of YouTube land, and it was really cool. We'll answer Friggsy's question in a moment. Question. I get a decent amount of stuff from Thomann. Does the affiliate link just apply to what you've listed, or can I buy anything and you still get a cut? Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, the good thing about affiliate marketing, and if I'm always completely open and honest and upfront with this stuff, because I just want to be. I don't want you to buy gear that you don't need just to support the channel. You want to support the channel, like, do a super chat for $5 or PayPal me $10. Like, you can support the channel, or just hit like on the video and subscribe. Like, there's ways around it. But if you're buying gear, the way affiliate marketing works is, and I'm going to use the C word, it uses a cookie. Yeah. So if you go to your browser, every website you go to these days has that little pop-up at the bottom that says, this website uses cookie. If I'm using this website, do you accept that cookies will be used? And, some people get paranoid about that and they'll work around it and they'll put a blocker on there, or they'll not accept the cookies. Fine, cool. But what a cookie does in this instance is like if you go in via this link, so here's the Thomann link, you're in the UK or you're in Europe or whatever. If you go in via the UK, I think, are you in the UK or you're in the UK, Frigsy? So you go to the UK link, it takes you in here, it says, yep, here it is. Even if chocolate chip, our cookies make an important contribution. Yeah. So if you accept the cookies there, then it puts that, and for the next, it depends on the site, usually 24 hours, anything that you then buy, it attributes to me. So it says you came in via my affiliate link, therefore anything you buy for 24 hours will go to that. So even if you come in here, you check out these cool interfaces, you check out some stuff, and then you decide not to buy, but you come back in 23 hours time and buy, then it will still chip off a little bit and send it to me. So, and it's the same with all the others. It's the same with Amazon, the same with Sweetwater. So if you're in the US and you go to my Amazon link here, you could buy toilet paper if you wanted to. So, and look, it is what it is. And I've had some weird things. Maybe one day I'll do a show, the top 10 weird things that people have bought with my affiliate links, because majority of it is Lightning to USB adapter, monitor speakers, headphones, audio interfaces, microphones. But occasionally it will be like stroller or pop-up tent. And I'm like, how do you go through my link and you're like, will I buy a new guitar? No, you know what? I'm going to buy a pop-up tent instead. Maybe you're like, I'm going to go camping. But yeah, it is weird. But thank you again. Thank you for the question. And yeah, for anyone who's interested, that's how it works. Some people think it's a bit creepy. I apologize for that. And look, it can be. There are people that set up entire web pages that have affiliate links to stuff that they're not passionate about. They just want to sell the stuff so that they get their 6%. And it's literally between 3 and 6%. So we're not talking big dollars. But there's people that will try and convince you to buy the expensive stuff. So if I was a smart salesperson, I wouldn't say buy the $100 Focusrite Scarlett or the $200 Steinberg. I'd be like, oh, you need the Apollo Twin for $600 to record good music, but I'm not going to do that. And unfortunately, there are some people out there that will push you into buying the expensive gear. It's just like going into any store. Like you go into a store, the salesperson, if they're getting paid on commission, you better believe they're not going to want you to buy the $200 model. They'll point you right towards that $600 model, won't they? If they're unscrupulous. There are good salespeople, just like there are good content creators. And affiliate marketing is just one way that I keep the lights on around here. So hopefully that helps if you've got questions. All right. Where are we at? We're coming up to 1.5 hours, and that might be our limit unless we have a heap more questions. So I'm gonna scroll on down and see what other questions we have here. Orchestra Eclipse, hello to you. I'm glad that you dropped on by. Beelzebub says, I've never heard anyone talking about MainStage. It's like a secret. It is a bit weird, isn't it? And yeah, it wasn't until I saw that Dean Davis video, which I thought was a Patrick Baird video, go figure. But since I saw that Dean Davis video where it has all the Logic instruments, if you're not going to use any of the functionality, but you're like, hey, I want all those cool different strings and key sounds that you have in Logic, get MainStage. Like a sixth of the price. You might as well do it. Orchestra Eclipse was going to go to sleep, but it's going to hang out here. There you go. Absolutely. You said you've had a few beverages, so drink some water and hang out here. We'll be here at least another 5-10 minutes as well. That new M Audio Pro 49 looks nice. Will you upgrade? Good question. Let's have a look at it together, shall we? Let's see if Sweetwater have it in stock. M Audio Pro 49. Is it the Oxygen Pro? Is it that one, or is there a different one that I'm not even aware of? Yeah, this one. It does look cool, doesn't it? There it is. The M Audio Oxygen 49. Now, does it have weighted keys? You'd think for that price it probably should, at least the semi-weighted. Does it look like it? Yeah, it does. All right. So the difference here, you'd probably know that I recommend it's over my shoulder, over there. Can't even see it. You can't see it, but I use and recommend the M Audio Keystation 49 Mark III. It's a $100 MIDI keyboard. It goes well. Is this really saying that this is $499 and they've got it for $249? I can't really believe that that's the case, that this would ever be sold for $499. Anyway, so yeah, you've got a lot of features here. You've got your faders, you've got your different MIDI control channels there. You've got your pads so that you can play in your drums, and you've got your knobs there. This is definitely for people that are into more electronic music production. I don't think that I would use this enough to actually go down that path. I think if you were an electronic producer, as you say here, it does look really nice. It looks really high end, and it looks like it would do a great job and have a lot of different functions. But you'd need to be using something like Logic or FL Studio or something that supported all of the options, all of the different things, because GarageBand just wouldn't cut it. GarageBand, you can't use assignable faders. You can't use assignable drum pads. You can't use assignable knobs. You would need to use this in conjunction with a DAW that let you use all the different buttons. But yeah, I agree. It does indeed look super nice. For sure. Sleeping is overrated. It's actually important. It's actually important to get your sleep. Make sure that you do get your sleep. Limitations are good. I'd rather push limitations and creativity than pushing for more technology. Yeah. And definitely learn to use what you've got before you push too far and get done. Agreed. A question here from Jay. When does your new single Murdering Time drop on the digital distro platforms? Very good question. It is on the Is it the 30th or 31st? That's a question I should know the answer to. But let me let me jump over to DistroKid and find out. You can pre-save it right now if you do go to the link, which I'll get in just a moment. I should actually set up a proper link. I've been having a few challenges with Hover at the moment, who are my web host or my domain registrar. So my link forwarding hasn't been working so well. It took me into what is hyperfollow. I need to go to my hyperfollow link. Just a moment. So it seems that it's preview. I should know this. I'm trying to work out whether it's the 30th or January 30th, 2021. So it is this one here. If we jump over, there it is. Album artwork by Jade Starr, drums by Jade Starr. You can now preview it there on iTunes. And if you go to the link, which I will paste there, you can pre-save it on Spotify. You can pre-order it on iTunes or Amazon. And I will paste this over into the StreamYard chat right now so that you can jump in there and check it out if you so desire. But thank you, Jade. That was like one of those like lob it up so that Jade can just, so I can smash it. Jade's just like, yeah, like those softball questions that you get, that politicians get. They're like, how is it that you've managed to maintain such integrity whilst stripping money from the budget? And they're like, well, I'm really glad you asked that. No, I don't know. All right, we are nearly done because I'm clearly going out of my mind. Hi Pete, I'm looking to upgrade my mic using the SM57. Do you have a good, relatively affordable mics to recommend? I do indeed. So if you're using an SM57, the new the V7 looks pretty nice. The cut down version of the SM7B really depends if you're looking for more of a dynamic or a condenser mic. My favorite condenser mic is I'll try to find it here now. The Audio-Technica AT2020, we talked about it earlier. It's a $100 microphone. It is great, really good quality sound, really versatile, works on a bunch of different stuff. And again, if you know when Sweetwater folks rate it 4.5 stars, you know that they're doing something right there. As far as a dynamic mic goes, I actually use the AKG D5. I find it the best value and the best bang for your buck dynamic microphone, very similar to an SM57. So if you're already using 58, sorry. So if you're already using a 57, may not be much of an upgrade, but I just find it a really nice flat sound that you can then manipulate and do what you want with. So I would go with one of those. What's the one I'm trying to think of? It's the Shure. It's not the SM7B. It's the MV7. That's the one. So the Shure MV7 is one that I'm hearing a lot of buzz about, a lot of people liking it. So it's a dynamic microphone very similar to the SM7B, but it is a hybrid USB/XLR mic, which means that you can use it either as a USB mic or it also has an XLR port, so you can actually plug it directly in. And it doesn't, unlike the SM7B, it has enough gain that you don't need a separate cloud lifter specifically to actually use it. So that would be another option you can go with. All right, we are going to just check. I'll see if there's one more. Water is overrated. No, water is the goal. Delicious water. Hello, Billy Boy X, who's just dropping in. We are finishing up here shortly, so thanks for dropping on by there. As Jade says, you can do that to support the channel. Patreon.com/PeteJohns will help me keep the lights on, and will be very much appreciated. All right, I think we are at the end. We are an hour and a half in, so we're going to end it up here. I'm just trying to find where I did. There we go. If I did miss your question, I do apologize for it. Oh, you know what, Danny, I did see your question here. We'll answer this one. Thanks for the Q&A. I have two UR242 audio interfaces. Is there a way to link them up so I can have 4 inputs instead of 2? I'm in Cubase AI. The short answer is no. Some audio interfaces actually have the ability to link. They have a digital, like a fiber optic cable that you can link between 2. Most of the time, if you just plug into audio interfaces, which are 2-channel input-output, they kind of work independently. And even if you can get them working, you can create like a composite device where it can link them both together. You can have issues with things like your timing and your latency and your MIDI clock and things like that. So it's not a direct no, you can't do it, but it in my experience, it creates more hassle than it's worth, if that makes sense. So you can try it, and there's guides out there. If you just put like multiple audio interfaces PC or multiple audio interfaces Mac, then you can find out. But I wouldn't spend too much time on it. In my experience, it doesn't work that well. But yeah, could be worth a try. Give it a try. Ireland, there you go. I'm very sorry. Hello, Friggs. Fergal. A guy called Fergal, Frigsy, and yeah, I don't remember that you're from Ireland. I'm very sorry. Like I said, I took 2 days off. Brain no longer functioning. Righty. I think I'm going to have to finish off there. So I apologize if I missed your question. Then please jump over to go to the Q&A form for our show, because if you go to studiolivetoday.com/QA for Q&A, you can actually pre-book yourself a question in Home Studio Q&A. So if we jump over here, the form is open right now. The show happens on Sunday morning my time, Saturday afternoon, depending where you are in the world, and you can actually put your question. You put your name in there and your question. That's all we need, and that jumps in, and then we go through, and that way I actually get to get all the questions, and they're in order. So studiolivetoday.com/QA, and you'll be good to go. Alrighty, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for all of your questions, for your support, for the super chats, for those who are patrons, for those who gave this a thumbs up if you had some fun here today. I do appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We're here every day with something new, live shows, pre-recorded shows, everything in between. I realize I'm going to have to save it for the weekend. I didn't tell you much about what went on the weekend, or sorry, not the weekend, about the live show that I went to. Yeah, there you can see some of the pictures. But there will be a video coming in the next couple of days. I'm going to compile together all the clips and do a little bit of a special one there. So we'll get onto that. But thank you everyone for being here. Please, as I say, do be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating, and